Okay,
So
yeah.
you guys saw this is what they're back on that same train.
Biden lost that debate. I think that is an accurate depiction of what happened.
Okay.
Blame it on a cold, blame it on his stuttering, blame it on over preparation, whatever. But he did lose. Maybe he needs to go. Maybe he needs to be honest with himself and the American people. He can bow out at this time with grace and dignity. He has a record he can be proud of. But what I will say this, I think it's really ironic that we're the only party talking about needing to replace our nominee. I think it's really ironic that the party that should be pressuring their candidate to step aside is the Republican Party. Their nominee is a convicted felon.
Here we go.
He's facing hundreds of charges for criminal activity and has been proven to be a racist, a business fraud, liable for sexual abuse, an insurrectionist. And as Biden said, he has the morals of an alley cat. Republicans need to be holding him accountable. The majority of the party, which has been cowardly and feckless and complicit and enabling in allowing Trump's racism, bullying, his demagoguery, misogyny. Why are we as Democrats, those of us that are Democrats, calling
all of them are
our nominee to change? And I think what we saw was that.
All right.
Oh yeah. Sunny, Joy, these names do not match with the miserable personalities that these women have every single day. Okay. God, I would hate to be their husbands. Hell is being reincarnated as her husband. Okay. We should sit down and follow her advice. We should say, as a party, since they're having trouble with their candidate, let's throw ours out, who's beating their candidate. Right. I mean, it's just absolute insanity.
Yeah, it is.
Absolute insanity.
They are livid that they're thinking that the Trump is this big bad guy that they just describe all the time, but yet how come he's still in? And they're jealous. They are weak. They are foolish. They're seething right now. They're seething because they really thought that when Trump got convicted, that was going to be the nail in the coffin. So they are livid. Not only are they livid, again, they're feigning all of this. They knew damn well that they don't want to take the blame for the abuse that they're really performing on Joe Biden. That's what they're doing. And again, I am not, none of us is, we're not any Biden fans, but we know that they are abusing him. Remember, the left always blames their opponent for the things that they're doing. And this is another form of the projection that they are masters at.
The same stuff. They continue to peddle these lies. She mentioned the insurrection. He's an insurrectionist. The man was never found guilty or even charged with insurrection.
Nobody in January 6th has been charged with that. Nobody.
No rioting charge, no allegation of criminal incitement, no seditious conspiracy, no insurrection, no crime of violence of any kind has he or anyone within January 6th been charged of.
And they don't understand that every time they say convicted felon, it only strengthens my resolve to vote for him. It's not having the effect that you think it is, okay?
And that was proven last night when Joe Biden mentioned that, again, the media trying to be complicit and bubble wrap, what I call bubble wrapped it, they blew it. Because when he mentioned that phrase, convicted felon, it was literally falling on deaf ears because they wanted no audience. They wanted no question, all that stuff. It did not pan out. So they are they're livid. And I'll tell you, as women, what they are also upset about is that for the most part, conservative women love Trump simply because he's a masculine guy. That's it. He's a fighter. And that's who we love. We love masculine guys. We don't care if they're black, brown, blue, or yellow. If they're masculine guys, if they are fighting, it just gives us tingles all over. And they hate that on The View.
Yes, indeed. They do. They do. And we see this. We see it all over the place anyway. The left and their side, they hate masculinity in general. They do not like masculine men. We have seen time and time again from the education system on up to the culture, they are trying to feminize men and sexualize women, and destroy and pervert gender and the family and everything involved with it. And again, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is one of the 45 goals of the Communist Party. They have infiltrated and at this point taken over the Democrat Party. And part of their goal is to destroy the family, is to pervert women, to pervert children. And we see this all the time within the Democrat Party. And let me tell you, you know, you guys who watch us may not know if you're new, but I was a Democrat for most of my life. It does not give me any pleasure to say these things. Most of my family are still on the left. They're still Democrats, but I love my country and I love the family unit. I love the nuclear family. I understand and believe that the traditional family is ideal for us to thrive, not only as a community, but as a nation. The family is the first unit of government, of structure that children see. And when that starts to fall apart, our community, which we're seeing, will fall apart along with the country. These people do not love our country.
They do not. And the Soviets tried to replace family with government. And you see, they said, hey, this is not working. They turned away from that, you know, eventually. You can look, and this is for those black liberals that we're always talking about that will not leave the plantation. If you take this to its ultimate extent, find me a Marxist country where blacks are thriving. Okay, you can go all over Africa because they love sub-Saharan Africa, loves Marxism. Find me one where one of these black liberals are willing to say, yeah, you know what, that's where I'd like to be. I'd like to move to the Congo. Okay, you're not going to hear it. I've always said that there should be a program in high school where for that last 6 months, you should have to go and live in a third world country. And third world is not, people think that means economic. It really means Marxism. That's what it means. And it just so happens that these Marxist countries are broke as hell. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because you got corruption and people who don't know how to operate a macroeconomic situation. But high school students should have to go live over there. I swear to God, they would come back and you wouldn't see all this mess.
You would not.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah, I totally agree. So again, I mean, and we talk about, you know, that was Sonny pushing, you know, again, these lies, these this misinformation that we see that they push. And the same thing goes for Biden. I mean, is not senile as he was able to put forth, you know, quite a bit of lies on the debate last night.
If you could even understand what he was saying.
Yeah, when you could understand what he was saying, it was not true. It was not true at all. I mean, he talked about border patrol. He talked about saying that now, since he's coming to office, the border is much safer than what it was under Trump. He talked about inflation. I mean, there were so many lies within his debate performance.
He still believes, and he said last night that his son died in Iraq. I mean, are you?
Yeah. And then he said, you know, I guess we'll give it to both of them. Eisenhower and FDR, they took out Hitler. Reagan took down the wall, and Joe beat Medicare.
Yeah,
okay, so.
Yeah, I
found it funny that Jake Tapper he wouldn't let him out of that. He said, and I beat Medicare, and Jake Tapper was like, all right, thanks, Biden, and then went right to Trump. So it was like he didn't even let him recover from that.
Yeah. And I have a clip here of some people fact checking Biden last night. Take a look at this.
He's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he supported, never endorsed him himself. In some of them, he said he's the only president.
Yeah. So again, they talk about these lies that Trump tells, and I'm sure he did have some things that were a little inaccurate. But Biden, he was pretty much,
and that was a CNN clip.
Yeah, that was a CNN clip. I mentioned we gotta stick together on this stuff, guys, and continue to call out this propaganda, these inaccuracies. We really do, because it's really crazy. It's scary. These are scary times.
It is. Listen, I think I'm older than you two ladies. I remember the 80s clearly. I remember the 80s very clearly. And the big thing in the 80s was the Cold War. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when they show like footage of the USSR on television, it was always a cloudy day. Okay. You'd have the little babushka at the Russian supermarket looking at 3 onions. 2 of them were bad and 1 was on the way to being bad. Okay. It was just like they drilled it into you. Damn, this is a horrible place. Mm-hmm. And then when I started to study the Soviet Union, what it was really all about, I said to myself as a young man, I said, I'm glad that'll never happen here. That is happening here. That is happening here in every respect, from Pravda, which was their major news organization that basically was just state information. Okay. They weren't telling you anything other than the line coming straight from the Kremlin. And they better not tell you anything other than
exactly
what Soviet premier, wanted you to know. We are looking more and more like that with each passing day. It is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we are. And I mean, and his Bidenomics has done such an awful job on our country. I mean, more and more companies are declaring bankruptcy and shutting down operations. Retailers are closing nearly 3,200 stores this year, according to Coresight Research. The closures are 24% increase from last year. I mean, you have places like Family Dollar's closing. They closed over 600 stores. The Tupperware, the company Tupperware is the latest to announce is permanently closing its last operating production plant in South Carolina. Yeah. Rue 21. I mean, if you have a teenage girl, I mean, I'm sure they shut up at Rue 21, also filed for bankruptcy last month. Closing 540 of its stores. This is, I mean, ongoing.
But the economy is doing great, though.
Right. It's really not. I mean, and again, this is stuff anybody can look up. It's clear. You go to what is it, Tyrone? When people look up this stuff, it's out there for us to research and find out.
It's out there.
The weird thing that's going on is the White House is lying, but the government agencies are still publishing the true data. So I would encourage people, you can no longer afford, literally, to outsource your information to some teleprompter reader that comes on, a television screen. You cannot do that. You've got to go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, to the Fed, to the Department of Energy, and you have got to learn how to read these numbers that are published, because right now the government is laughing at us like, hey, we put all the information
out there. We put it out there.
Yes, so you got to know how to read this. You've got to educate yourself. Otherwise, they're going to tell you everything is rosy. It is the equivalent right now economically of being on the Titanic, and you see
the iceberg
staff getting big tablecloths, putting the silverware in it, and jumping on lifeboats. And you're like, is everything okay? Oh, yeah, it's cool. Go down and have a cocktail and just enjoy yourself. Oh, okay. That's what the American people, you've got to know for yourself.
While the ship is teetering like this, you thinking,
yeah,
everything's okay. And,
that's right.
You know, and the media,
it's like this right now. And people are like, oh, everything's cool. You know?
Right. And the media is supposed to be the watchdog, if you will, for the people, because like earlier you mentioned, Tyrone, like our Constitution is written basically for at least a 5th grade education, give or take, right? So it's there. It's not complicated at all. A lot of the lawyers have made it complicated. A lot of the judges and all of these agencies and all these other, like you said, lobbyists, right? They've made it complicated. But the media is supposed to be the watchdog for the people. They're not supposed to be in bed with the Scarboroughs and the CNNs and covering for the government. They're supposed to be exposing all of this stuff so that the average man can know, and not necessarily not that you shouldn't go to the BLE statistics, but the average man, American, they want to go to work. They want to take care of their family. But the media is supposed to be giving them the breakdown of what this stuff means.